Okay, so now we have all the data that we need, all the variables that we need. We tested the alpha Cronbach, which was very important. We passed that, and then we created the new variables, and we are ready to start off analysis. The first thing that we need to do is to analyze the descriptive statistics. That is a very important and powerful analysis that we should do, and sometimes we forget to do. So to do that, go to Analyze, then Descriptive Statistics and Descriptives. You will get this table. So I always like to start the how I always like to see my variables like this. I like to start with the dependent variable first. In my opinion, it's very important to have global mindset. And then I will do the analysis for the collectivism. Oh, let's do it first with everything. Collectivism, the spheric values, all of our variables here, the variables that we have, because these are independent variables, but remember, each of you have a specific relationship. But let's do it for everyone, because descriptives, it's fine. And then the control variables, all the 7 variables, all of them. And then just click OK. And then this window will open with descriptive variables and this table. This N tells you how many observations do you have. We have a very good data set because every variable has a valid value that we can use. So that's why it's always 216. And again, this is because we have a very good design of the survey. We didn't allow people to not answer to something. If we could have that, then we could have a problem here, and then we need to go to Excel and then remove that particular problematic thing. But no, we can keep it like that. The next thing, the next column in descriptive statistics is very important and powerful to discuss is the minimum, which is the minimum level for this variable. So apparently for global mindset is 2.75. So that's the lowest person who cares about global issues, 2.75. The maximum was 10. So we actually had someone like perfect or highest grade, maybe more than one, but the maximum was 10. And the average is 7.3. It's actually quite high, right? Because the mathematical average is 6, right? But in here we are above, no, it's 5, right? The middle between 1 and 10 is 5. But here is actually a bit higher, it's 7.3. So that means that our sample is quite high on global mindset, something we'll discuss later. And the standard deviation is 65% of our sample fits in between this plus 1.36 and minus 1.36. So 65% of our sample is around 8.5 and 6, I think. So that's what standard deviation tells you. If the standard deviation is high, that means that people vary a lot. Like some people are very high and some people are very low. A low standard deviation means that people are actually closer to the average, which is the case. I think like here there is not a huge variation. They are closer together. We will discuss later, especially in the workshop in person, how to interpret this a little bit more. But that's something that you need to write in one paragraph. Present the table and then write a little bit. We also have the lecture on how to present quantitative data. We'll discuss that in there. And then you do that for everything else. Discuss a little bit about every variable. Then in gender, for example, the dummy variables are interesting to analyze because you only have 1 and 0. If you have 0.59, that means that 59% of the sample is female. So a little bit more women. Age, the average is 23. And then the oldest person is 49, the youngest person is 18. Year of study, in average, people have been studying a little bit more than 3 years. The maximum is 14. Maybe one person has been studying for a long time. University, dummy variable, so you interpret that 78% are from Jönköping University. The rest, not from there. The level of studies is 1.38. This is interesting also to discuss because now we cannot interpret that the average is 1.3. It only tells you that most of the people are on the bachelor level because we cannot say like we cannot really interpret that as like bachelor and a little bit more. No, it's not like that. It only tells you that most people are bachelor students. Most of the people in the sample are towards the one more than the two or the three. They are more towards the one. A little bit complicated to interpret this one. Then about Sweden, it's 56 people are born in Sweden, so we are almost half and half, and especially with international experience, we had 49%, so almost half and half, literally half and half. The next thing that we need to do is to calculate the correlations table. The correlations are how one variable relates to another, and I will try to explain when we calculate it. Go to correlations. Here is correlations, and try to follow the same order. Start with the global mindset, then add the other 5 variables, and then the 7 controls, and then just click OK. We're going to use Pearson correlation. There are two main types of correlation calculations. One is Pearson and the other is Spearman. Pearson works for data that has a normal distribution, and Spearman works better with data that has not normal distribution. In our case, most of our variables have normal distribution, so we will use Pearson correlation. Then click OK. So what you are going to find in here is a table that tells you which variable from here and how it relates with the variable on here. So for example, if you want to test what is the relationship between global mindset and, for example, being Swedish, you can try to do it like this. Global mindset and being Swedish. This number is very important. First, check the stars. The more stars you have, the better. So that means that if this is 2 stars, that means that the correlation is stronger. So, for example, here with Sweden, it's a correlation that is strong. Actually, if you go in here, you will see it's at 5 and at 0.05. So that means 95% of confidence that the correlation works. And then, so that's the first thing to do, to check if there is a correlation. In this case, there is a correlation. And the next thing to do is to analyze this sign, if it is negative or if it is positive. If it is negative, it seems that the relationship is negative. So the relationship between being Swedish and the global mindset is negative. And that's all we know, only the relationship. There is a statistical relationship with a statistical correlation where being Swedish apparently is negative with the global mindset, but this is a quite superficial and low-level analysis because we're only testing two variables, just being Swedish and global mindset, and that's it. And also, we are not really like testing its actual impact and how powerful the relation is. So probably in a very basic study, we could finish in here, just finding a correlation, and that's it. But we are going to do a more advanced analysis with a linear regression. But we still need to discuss the correlations a little bit, especially the ones that we care about, like, for example, global mindset with our variables. That's important that we discuss. So in your case, discuss that biospheric values and global mindset seem to have a very high correlation. It's positive, it's very significant, and it's also quite a high number. The correlation number is usually between -1 and +1. -1 is when the correlation is perfectly negative. So it's exactly the same, but on the opposite thing. 1 is perfectly the same, perfectly positive, but that usually means that it's the same variable. So global mindset is perfectly correlated with global mindset because it's the same thing, right? So what you can do in here is discuss a little bit which interesting correlations do you see, and also maybe note if there are very strange high correlations. Like, for example, if there is a very high correlation, biospheric values and networking skills have a strong correlation, but it's not super high, because sometimes that could be suspicious, and maybe we need to do an additional test that we will do. But if it is, for example, 0.8, the correlation, that's a bit suspicious. Why is it so close? Maybe we are measuring the right thing twice again. So I guess with this, we can stop in here. with the correlation analysis, and the next video is about the regression analysis. And with that, we finish actually our analysis. So we're almost there.